anyway. My apologies, my apologies. I'll just redo it from the start then. Good news is we don't have to worry about having to reconfigure the options. It should be still in place. Alright, welcome back, folks. This is Storm331 after that horrible mishap there. My apologies. Anyway, we're going to do a guide on Slash, aka Douglas Bild. He is pretty... If you see me do runs on this character or anyone else, there's a good reason why we use Bild, aka Slash, for a great deal of the run, for the most part, which I'll go over in a bit. So let's go ahead and select the second partner, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into his move list for the most part. So, Slash pretty much received quite a bit of changes to his fighting style. Unfortunately, he's not going to have a very consistent chain attack this time around, unfortunately. As you can see right there, I only got like 3 hits instead of usual 4. As you can see right there, the second punch didn't go off. But there we go. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but that's there for the most part. There is another trick you can use that for, and you can set that up for a small bit of damage and then go straight to a jump attack, which you can then use to get another hit. For jump attacks, he'll have a forward jumping punch, whereas if you do a stationary, he'll do a small drop kick. Really don't know what that's called in general, but it works. Both of them work pretty much. Now, this is pretty much the key of how we use Slash. We use the dash attack. So when Slash performs a dash attack, the enemies go down, and by the time he stops moving, he'll be in good range to hit the enemy. And you can just redo that again and again until the enemy goes down, or when you get to the near end of the screen. It's basically important to remember this because you'll be using this quite a lot in speedruns with this character. Also, if you get knocked down, you can always hit the jump button. That helps you recover faster. But overall, you can use the big boot to set you up enemies. If you knock a lot of them down, you can group them that way. And we'd be using that in most of the runs. Now, we're going to cover the throws. Of course, Bild's Power Bomb is still present. It's probably his next best damage move, outside his Angry Mode version, of course. We don't really use that a whole lot. I mean, it doesn't really have a glitch this time around. This is the Angry Mode version. It does like the highest amount of damage that he'll ever get outside of his Flame Breath and Meteor Kick. Now, I do want to set up this next throw. Believe it or not, you get some active hit frames when you perform this throw. It's basically a backdrop, pretty much, but originally in the Japanese version, it was essentially an atomic drop, actually. But they censored that in the US version, obviously, because of Nintendo's policies at that time. And believe it or not, that can help protect you, because it does give you quite a bit of invincibility frames, and enemies that are right around that area when you attack them with this move will also get hit around this impact range. So that's very important to have. Now, for his middle attack, when you don't do anything, he'll do a low blow. It's not very consistent like the one in Rival Turf, unfortunately. They kind of took that away, unfortunately. So we can't do all that crazy stuff in the previous game. But it's there if you do need to set up dash attacks and the whatnot. It's just not nearly as effective. Anyway, this is his special. It's a flaming forearm that if you move like this, you can basically get all the enemies while the hitbox animation is still good. And that can be useful in certain scenarios. Alright, so before we finished up this tutorial on Slash, I want to go over his 2 special moves. The first one is the one we use throughout the entire run, and that's the Flame Breath. The Flame Breath is going to be our go-to move for the most part. And this right there, you can perform that with the attack and taunt buttons. Now with the Meteor Kick right here, you can perform that with B and X. We don't really use that on a whole lot of the run, unfortunately. It is useful if you can trap the Clone Kazan with this move, but you don't really get to see a whole lot of it. But yeah, it does pretty nifty damage, but the problem is, though, is that it does take up quite a bit of time. But as you can definitely tell, it definitely wipes out a whole lot of the energy that the enemies usually have, so it's not a bad move, we just don't really want to use it. Plus, it's a very awkward button press. Even if you do alter the button configurations on options, you still have to press the same buttons for those attacks. So basically, Slash and Hack are the only ones that get to keep special moves in this game. But technically, Slash is pretty slow on walking speed. I don't really take into account running speed, since with dashing that really speeds up a whole lot of time, pretty much. But basically what you want to be doing most of the time is basically do dash attacks followed up with flame breaths. We try not to do a whole lot of the grabbing with Slash, but if it has to come down to it, you can always use the back throw for protection. Power Bomb does pretty decent damage too. And Slash has some pretty decent jump attacks. Which is kind of surprising because his jumping isn't very fantastic. And of course the Flame Breath is just OP in this game. But like I said before, you do need to make sure that your presses are very precise, because if you don't get it correctly, you'll wind up getting a taunt. But even if you do try to set up your Flame Breaths, you might get your normal attack or a taunt, which is pretty nasty. And that can really screw up a whole lot of your plans if that happens. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and take a small break. That's it for the move list for Slash overall. But anyway, I'm gonna take a small break, rest my throat a bit, drink some water, and then we'll resume with the other 3 characters. So hang tight, I'll be right back.